Now, I'm sure you're all aware, or most of you would be aware, of the concept of RTI, response to intervention. The notion here is to use educational resources effectively and cost-effectively to try to solve problems in the least restrictive, the least expensive way possible, by starting by providing the best quality classroom instruction possible, and recognizing that that will solve most of your problems, but not all of them. And then for the students who have greater difficulties, they may need one-to-small group tutoring or other kinds of interventions. And then there will still be students who don't succeed in that setting, and they may need more intensive, more expensive interventions. And I'm suggesting that that would generally be one-to-one instruction. Now, there are other things that could be involved. Obviously, students who need eyeglasses should get eyeglasses. Students who are having behavior problems may need interventions there. So I'm simplifying a bit, but focusing on the key elements for ensuring that all children reach high levels in academic achievement. Though there are other issues that could be organized or presented in a similar way, I think it's reasonable to focus on tutoring as the main intervention, the main treatment, if you will, for students who have received top quality classroom instruction, Tier 1, using proven methods, teachers receiving classroom-based professional development to use the best methods that we can, but also being ready to transition kids for short periods of time during each day into one-to-small group or one-to-one tutoring to be sure that they're all on track toward proficiency on Maryland standards. So start with Tier 1. Tier 1, the focus here is on using proven programs. We at Johns Hopkins made a website called Evidence for ESSA that takes the federal ESSA standards for what's effective in education and communicates them reasonably clearly to say, well, this is what you'd need to be considered a program with strong evidence of effectiveness. This is what you need for moderate. This is what you need for promising. And what we've done is created a website that translates those standards into the names of individual programs that meet those standards so that people can know whether they're using something that truly has been proven to be effective. You know, you can think of it as consumer reports for education, where we're applying consistent standards to identify things that work and things that don't work. So if you look at those as one example, we have identified so far, we started with reading and math, and we have identified 101 individual programs that are ready to go, could be disseminated in Maryland tomorrow, that are essentially Tier 1 kinds of programs. Tier 1, these are cooperative learning programs. Some of them are computer programs. Some of them are ways of teaching kids how to learn by teaching them how to think. Wide variety of kinds of ways that you can improve achievement, but these are all well-designed programs with a lot of professional development that anybody could use today and are not terrifically expensive on a per-student basis compared to the kinds of figures that you're slinging around in the APA report and elsewhere. They are of no cost at all. That doesn't mean they are of no cost, but I'm saying that relative to other things, they are very inexpensive. These are things that could and should be used with entire schools or entire grade levels or subjects in secondary school, and should be the first line of action because they are inexpensive and because they would prevent the need for more expensive kinds of tutoring and other services down the line. And you'd want to do that before you'd be providing something way more expensive and intensive. So this just shows the number of the 101 programs, the number of each type. And one thing that you'll notice is that the largest number of them meet the strong criterion. These are programs that you can hang your hat on. These are programs that have been tested under the most rigorous kinds of evaluation designs and found to be effective. So you really can count on the idea that if you take these programs, implement them well, you're going to get the effects that the researchers got. And that's a very important part of any plan that you might think of. But there will always be kids who, with the very best of Tier 1 instruction, will still need additional help. The second level, Tier 2, again, there are many different things you could do under Tier 2, but I'm suggesting that Tier 2 should primarily be one-to-small group instruction. Here are some specific names of programs. Again, these are all programs that have been proven to be effective, that are ready to go. They are, you could, if you had the money to implement them and you had the staff to implement them, be operating in schools next September. They could be operating in schools in January. There's nothing that inhibits the use of these on a very wide scale. If you look at the average effect size on the right-hand side here, you'll see that they're in the range of 0.2 to 0.4. So again, back to my bands, effect size of 0.2 is 1 band, 0.4 is 2 bands, pretty effective, very important part of an overall strategy, but there's more coming. These now are Tier 3 approaches. These are now for kids who are in bigger trouble. You've already tried Tier 2 with them and it's not been enough. They're kids who are having serious difficulties in learning to read or possibly learning math. This is another possible application. And you'll notice that there are quite a few of these programs. Once again, these are all proven programs, evaluated many times, found to be effective. The impacts are much larger than the impacts of the one-to-small group. This just stands to reason. One-to-one is more effective than one-to-small group, but it's also much more expensive. Takes more teachers. You could find, out of all of these here, there are effect sizes that go up to 1.0. That would be 5 bands. Not very many of them do that. To get to 3 bands or 4 bands is more reasonable.
Professor Slavin?
Yes?
We have a question from Senator Madaleno.
Okay.
Right here.
Yes.
So just to give us a sense of what you're talking about with the one-to-one tutoring and that.
Yes.
Are you talking about, is this one period, is it 1 hour a day of tutoring? Is it, so trying to get a sense of what how big of a lift this is.
Okay. This is 30 minutes a day, or at least that was the model that I was basing this on, 30 minutes a day, and by a certified teacher. So you basically can imagine that a certified teacher would have 10 slots a day, so 5 hours of tutoring a day. You know, they have breaks and lunch and stuff. And so that a single teacher could work with kids, with 10 kids a day in that model. The one-to-small group is more often 40, 45 minutes a day in groups of that average 1 to 4, although some of the programs go up to 1 to 6. And so an individual teacher could work with as many as 28 kids in a day because, you know, if you work it out that many hours, that many kids at a time, it comes to an average of about 28.
Would it be for like the proven Tier 3 reading approach? You were saying 30 minutes a day, one-on-one.
Yes.
30 minutes a day, day after, for the student.
For the student.
Every day.
Every day. Now, I will say that a lot of these programs, the evaluations didn't go the entire year, but I'm assuming that you would provide them for an entire year. And as I'll get into in a moment, I'm also going, if you're truly serious about every kid getting to the standard, I'm talking about the possibility that the lower achieving kids might receive tutoring more than 1 year over the course of their time in elementary and middle school. But in terms of where the evidence is right now, almost all of the studies took place within 1 year and usually less than the entire year.
But to be clear, it's like for this high intensity, it would be every day. The student every day is getting 30 minutes of reading individual.
Yes.
With a teacher.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So this is actually answering some of your very questions. So what are the tutoring resources and schedules? 30 minutes, as I was saying, for the one-to-one, 45 minutes for the small group, possibility of multiple years if necessary. That these are not run-of-the-mill tutoring. This is not just, here you're a tutor, here's your kids, have a great year. These are specific, proven programs with adequate professional development, follow-up, leadership, all the things that you would need to ensure that tutors are using the most effective strategies that we know about every day, and that they're being monitored, data on the children's progress is being collected and looked at so that modifications can be made to meet the needs of individual children to be sure that they are getting the full benefit of this very expensive resource.